Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Augie Innenkamp, who is the owner and CEO of Clo-Clo Vegan Foods. Augie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Pleasure is mine. Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
yeah, you're welcome. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Yeah, so I'm founder, owner, and CEO of Clo-Clo Vegan Foods based here in Edina, Minnesota. And our mission is at Clo-Clo, we seek to utilize food as a utensil of inclusion for all living souls. And it really came about from our daughter. Clo-Clo is named, it's her nickname. We named our company after her, Clo-Clo Vegan Foods, and Clo-Clo is the brand. And it came about where at 15 months down in Chicago, little background, we were going to go up, check on her. She was in her crib after the news, go to bed. My wife and I were just going to give her a little kiss on the cheek. And we walked in and our life changed. She was breathing for her life. I've never seen a body breathe like that. Her whole body was basically convulsing. We immediately knew we couldn't even wait for an ambulance. We rushed her to Children's Hospital in Chicago. At the time, we were living in Chicago. Sprinted through the front door just like out of a movie, and it was just dreadful as a mom and dad doing that. We found out, we got it settled down. She made it through the night. If we did not check on her at 10:30 at night, she would have basically the doctor said she would have never woke up, so she would have passed away that night. So thank God we checked on her, and from there we met with multiple doctors, consultants, dietitians, specialists, and we found out she has food allergies and an autoimmune disease, which is eosinophilic esophagitis, which basically is inflammation of the esophagus and white blood cells attacking. We had to take her off all food. We had to give her an elimination diet. We had to put in a Mickey tube in her stomach to supplement the feeding and nutrition. And we would put that in. She would go on at night, supplement her for 8 hours, 10 hours at a time. But as a 3-year-old, you can imagine being on a Mickey tube. It's basically an IV where every 20 minutes, it seemed like for 7 years while she was on this, it would, little babies toss and turn in bed naturally, but the wire would get wrapped around her neck. So the alarm would sound and we'd immediately rush in there and untangle it. Now, as an adult, you could kind of sleep and better. It's a piece of cake as an adult, but a little 3-year-old doesn't have any comprehension. So my wife literally did not sleep for 7 years. We got through that. And then we also found out the human body forgets to eat. So we had to bring in food therapists for her to re-educate her how to eat food. When we started introducing foods again in a potato, we started with, very benign foods, a potato, sweet potato, etc., which I never knew that was a part of the process. And now it was probably age 7. We noticed on Friday nights, just like any American household, we love to have pizza night. And there was a pizza night, 10 of us enjoying pizza, conversation, kids, cousins, and we looked over and there's Chloe, Clo-Clo in the corner eating, kind of being excluded from pizza night because she couldn't have the pizza, eating basically a stale, cracker. And Wendy and I looked at the same time and it just broke our hearts. She wasn't a part of that, how important food is in conversation and just in life. So we made it our mission in life to come out with food that would be inclusive, where Chloe could be included in the meal, and we decided on pizza, and that's kind of the start of our company. Is everything we make, Chloe can basically test and also eat, and that's been our mission from day one. And now we find out, there's 85 million Americans that have food allergies and intolerances. There's 50 million Americans have autoimmune disease. 40% of the population is pre-diabetic and obese. So there's a lot of need now for a healthier, better for you pizza brand out there, which we're kind of tapping into. So not only are we helping Chloe with this brand, we're trying to help all the Chloes in the country out there that from celiac disease, autoimmune, food allergies, and we're finding out there's definitely a niche, and it's bigger than a niche population out there. And then also the healthy lifestyle folks out there. But in general, that's a little synopsis of how we started this and why.
So when did you officially kind of launch your business?
So we launched right when the pandemic hit.
Oh boy.
Yes. So it took us, so, maybe for the people listening, it took us 4 years, 1,000 renditions of cheese to figure out the vegan cheese to make it melt and taste amazing. 4 years of R&D, 1,000 renditions of cheese. And every rendition was myself basically writing out a check with our culinary chef here locally. We finally got there. Our first order was shipping basically April of 2020, March, April. We had my life savings in those inventory working capital in those trucks going out. And then we get the call that maybe things are shutting down. So there was a few sleepless nights. They let the trucks go in. Our biggest customer at the time was we were loading up Sprouts out of Phoenix, Arizona,
Yeah.
and Sprout stores are from Seattle all the way up to Boston now, strong in Colorado. Thank goodness they let the trucks go in, and the rest is history. But there was 3-4 nights of we didn't know what was going to happen to our pizza and our trucks, and not the best timing, but yet Frozen took off, so it was maybe meant to be. And from there, we've catapulted into other retailers across the country.
Oh, that's great. My mother-in-law loves Sprouts. I'll have to tell her she's out in Arizona. So,
Okay. Yes.
so as you were getting this up and going, right? Uh, Maybe talk to us a little bit about how that relationship with Sprouts developed, and what do people need to do to maybe nurture a relationship like that? Or how'd you get with Sprouts? I mean, that's a pretty big company.
Well, and I was always told Whole Foods, Sprouts, and you really want to launch, a product like yours with Sprouts. And I had, developing this, we finally figured out, you know, the formula, the cheese, everything came together, manufacturing, and it was December before we launched, and I didn't, I basically went, and here's a little wisdom for your viewers. I went old school, and I got the vice president at the time. He was the buyer of Frozen. I actually called him at 6 a.m. his time on his office line, thinking I never, guy will never pick up. I didn't know how to get him by email. And I called, and unbeknownst to me, it was 8 o'clock in Minneapolis time, six o'clock his time. And he picked up the phone. He said he's an early bird, and it's the one time he picks up phone for like 15 minutes. He'll pick up the phone from 6:15. Unbeknownst to me, we actually hit it off, and he loved this story so much. He's like, come down here. And I frankly didn't know where Sprouts was even located. And he's like, can you get down here in a couple weeks? Your story's so powerful. I want to meet you in person. So absolutely, we flew down, made some pizzas for him right in the test kitchen, right in Sprouts. And he actually, instead of tasting it, he had 20 women in the company come through and taste the product. And they were all raving about it. And that's the kind of the solidifying position he needed was the taste. So then we're halfway through. We go back to his office, and Scott Reed at the time, and I said we're launching 3 items, and he just stopped right there. And I thought I made a mistake. I said something wrong, and he's like, I don't need 3, and I'm like, but I need 6. I'll take in 6. Can you give me 6 items? And I went, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. I said yes, of course, and we got the order. We didn't even discuss pricing, anything. So now you look at it, looking backwards, a phenomenal start to Clo-Clo. But then
Yeah.
I was on the clock to produce to get the set in March, April of 2020. This was 19. So we scrambled, we got it all done, and I think I mean, it came down to the wire. So it was a stressful time, but really exciting at the same time. So Sprouts making that phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock his time, was the difference of, and most people now would say never, never call, email, and I guess, be unconventional, be like all sheep get slaughtered, right? So try to be different, and for me, it was getting that phone call at 6 in the morning his time.
That was
Maybe.
great. We call that, we use a term called guerrilla marketing, right? Doing something that's really not that expected, but something that's kind of raw, right? But makes a powerful impact. So
Yes,
that
I
was
just
great.
being different, being different from, there's so much static and noise out in the world today, and marketing and blitzing with social media. What I'm finding is, being just unconventional and different, and maybe going back to some of the old school ways of our parents and grandparents' generation seems to be working for me.
That sounds cool. So, so in your business, maybe just talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things that you do to kind of stay innovative or adaptable to change? And then is pizza your core product or the only
Great.
product?
Yeah, so our core product, we have 7 pizzas in a pizza crust, a 2-pack pizza crust, and now we have just launched again with Sprouts. We launch every new item with Sprouts, a single serve flatbread, more of a European bistro flatbread, and we are on a working with dietitians, progressive healthcare, and we're working on some projects for Medicaid and Medicare, actually. And there's nutritional guardrails within food as medicine to get these things dialed in as a medically tailored meal. And it's sodium levels, saturated fat. You go down the list. It's got to be a good source of fiber. Minimal added sugars, no cholesterol. So we worked on these flatbreads, this new line for 18 months, and we finally figured it out. And it was painful because you hit on the sodium level, like, all right, but then that would maybe increase the saturated fat, and it's a very scientific approach to it, and it's very frustrating. But we grinded through it, and we have launched a bruschetta flatbread now, single serve at Sprouts, and it's doing very well. And now we're looking at launching that in the progressive healthcare sector with a large healthcare insurance company based here in Minnesota, the largest in the world, to feed their members coming out of post-discharge cancer treatments, nursing homes, etc. So we're really excited about this. We call it progressive healthcare angle for us. It's food service, but it's not. It's kind of a cutting edge food service, B2B type of approach, and B2C. So really fascinating times for us with this product.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about future, right? Could you offer us maybe a glimpse into the future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yes, it's right now we're what we're finding out is focus on your core competencies. We've cut 45% of our SKUs in the last since the pandemic. We went into some frozen bowls and breads, and what we're finding out is stick with the core, do some SKU and brand rationalization, and we have something with our pizzas and our flatbreads, and we're going to execute that. There's so much opportunity from the Costco's of the world, club to natural, to grocery, here in the United States, and that's what we're going to be laser focused on in the next, let's say, 24 months. The flatbreads are a unique situation with the federal government, Medicaid and Medicare. We may expand that to 5 items. And kind of the idea would be at retail, have a shelf or two in the freezer space of our pizzas, and then a shelf of our flatbreads. So any wisdom out there I can give for any startup or anybody is know your core competency and put all your resources behind that, and don't get too wide or too thin, but go deep on on a few items per se, and do that really well. And you can parlay that into the electrical business, into any business really that might be listening. But focus, I cannot stress enough, core competency, know who you are, your story, and then really hit that, because I think the consumer, the retailers respect that. And the ones that are maybe going to be in trouble go too wide, too fast in the food business. And then all of a sudden it takes a lot of capital to do that. You get thin, you get over your head on cash flow, and you could get in trouble. So it'd be wisdom for anybody listening and yourself on this podcast today.
I think that's some great final thoughts and words of advice for our audience. So I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much for your time today, Augie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you and then hearing your story and just learning a little bit more about this space in the food industry that I'm unaware of. So I think it's going to be very educational for our audience.
Well, and I'll tell you, we were just down we were invited to the biggest retailer in the world, Walmart, 2 weeks ago for their American Made uh, Jobs Act. And out of 14,000 applications, they selected 500 companies. We are one of them. So we're humbled to go down there. But, what I'm finding, any final thoughts for anybody listening today is the story is so powerful. And it just so happens we're in food, but whatever sector you're in, you got to have that authentic, passionate story. You got to differentiate from maybe some of the big manufactured food brands. For me, the customer trusts you, the retailer trusts you. They want to hear an authentic, powerful story. And tying that in is secondly, if you have the story, but then you got to show up and you got to grind. I'm an entrepreneur. We call it a witching hour. I call it the witching hour. Every night at 2:30, I wake up. And I find out around town now, a lot of entrepreneurs are waking up in the middle of the night, and I embrace it now. And from 2:30 to basically 3:30, I do a lot of note taking. It's quiet, the neighborhood's dark. I'll go on a late night walk, and it's time to really reflect and strategize. And I found out there's other entrepreneurs at 2:30. I don't know why it is, but that's the witching hour. And my wife will catch me walking around the house in the middle of the night, and I embrace it now, and maybe that's life in the entrepreneur. So anybody out there not sleeping well or having that same problem, it's normal, it's okay, and it's healthy, and it's a lot of my good plans and tactical vision have come out of those late night hours by myself walking around. So grind it out, have that authentic, passionate story. And if you don't have a story, or if you're not really sure, work on it and own that story, because at the end of the day, the most powerful person in a room or any meeting is the storyteller. And then if you have the hard work ethic and you can grind it out, good things are going to happen for you and your company.
That's great. So thank you for that close there. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.